Okay, so here's a table that I made for the digestive system for sections 1 through 5 in chapter 23. A couple of you might have missed this table that we wrote on the board, so I thought I'd recreate it from what I could remember. And we are just listing these organs here of the digestive system that are not accessory organs, and then we're just going through each one. So first column here, I have what happens, and then is it chemical or mechanical digestion, and what enzymes. So for the mouth, what's happening here is that the food is getting chewed up and it's mixing with saliva, and then the tongue is moving it around so that you, trying to figure out how to point here. The food is mixing it around. Here we go. Or the tongue is, so that you can better position the food to chew it. And then you're also increasing the surface area of the food by chewing it. So you're breaking it into smaller bits. And both mechanical and chemical digestion are happening here. The enzyme that's being used is amylase. And that is an enzyme that breaks down sugars and it takes starch and breaks them into sugar. And one activity that we did in the classroom that you can try is we took a saltine cracker and we put it in our mouths and then just let it dissolve slowly without chewing it. And it became sweeter because that starch was being broken down into sugar from that amylase. And then the saliva, just the wetness of it, also helps us to like position it and mush it up and get more surface area. And you guys know what it's like to chew like dry food, and it's just not pleasant. And so that really helps us to start that digestion process well. Then it goes into the esophagus, and that moves down. It's called a bolus now, so it's like a little ball of food, every little bite that you swallow. And it goes down through peristalsis, and this is the process where the esophagus muscles are pushing in and down at the same time. And I'm going to open up the PowerPoint to show you that. And this is a type of mechanical sort of digestion because it is sort of kneading and pushing the food a little bit, and it's not really chemical. There are no new enzymes except for like the amylase that's still there. Then it goes into the stomach, and at that point we're churning the food, and once it leaves the stomach, it's called chyme, and it's going to leave kind of like what vomit is like. It's watery and just kind of a dilute food mixture. It's squirting in digestive juices there, and that includes enzymes like pepsin and acid, right? So you definitely have acid in your stomach. So I put both. It's both mechanical and chemical. The enzyme that we're looking at is pepsin, and that's an enzyme that breaks down protein into amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins, right? And pepsin only works in acids. So you have to have, it has to be acidic for the pepsin to work. And then the next step that we have is the small intestine, and that is involved, it has 3 parts. It has the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. And in this part here, the nutrients are being absorbed by villi and microvilli. And if I can get this to open, I'm trying to open the PowerPoint. One of the slides shows the surface of the small intestine, and it's like a little carpet. It has little fingers, and then on the fingers there are little fingers, and that increases the surface area. So if our small intestine is 22 feet long, it has a surface area of like a tennis court because of all these little carpet fake fingers on fingers. And the purpose of the small intestine is to absorb nutrients. And so we have both chemical and mechanical happening here because it is still pushing it down like peristalsis. And we also have new chemicals coming in to the small intestine. We have bile coming in from the gallbladder. It's made in the liver, stored in the gallbladder, and it breaks down fats and into fatty acids. Fats are the macromolecule, and then fatty acids are the monomer. And that bile is also what makes feces brown because it's kind of a gross green color. And then insulin is also released into the small intestine from the pancreas, and that breaks down glucose so we can use it. So it kind of enables us to get energy out of glucose. Those are the 2 main ones that we'll look at for enzymes in the small intestine. Then the large intestine is next, and that the function of the large intestine is to absorb water. And closing that, maybe that'll help us open our slideshow. So it's going to absorb water. It also has like little villi and microvilli that really increase that absorption. And if our large intestine is not working correctly, then we're going to have like either diarrhea or constipation. So if we're not absorbing enough water, we get diarrhea, and it's moving. Usually it's because it's moving through too quickly. And so it doesn't have time to touch all the surfaces of the small or large intestine and absorb water. Or if it absorbs too much water, that's constipation, right? And so our large intestine does that. It's not really mechanical unless you count the peristalsis. It's not really chemical. All that's done yet. The nutrients are already pulled out of it in the small intestine, so it's just pulling water out. And then in the rectum, that's where the feces kind of waits, and it's still absorbing water. And that's when you feel that urge to go to the bathroom, you have feces there waiting, and it keeps kind of getting stacked up as things go. And if you wait too long, it'll absorb too much water and get really hard and compacted, and that can be pretty painful. So try to avoid that. And let's see if this will load. There we go, finally. So here's a picture. I'm on slide 6. I'm actually going to stop the share and start it again to make sure it's on the right page. Okay, let me go to this. All right, so this is a picture, come on mouse, of peristalsis. And you can see that the loading. So if you're on this slide, the muscles are pushing in and down. So you can see they're pushing in like laterally and also down. And that's how the food is pushed down. So this would be like in the esophagus and the small and large. And this is a helpful slide that shows, this is slide 7, that shows if you have mechanical digestion here, the circles, or chemical digestion and where, and it kind of has symbols. So that's helpful. Okay, I'm gonna skip a couple of these. Here's your stomach. Your stomach has a lot of layers of muscle that help it really churn that food. And it also has these little pockets, these little holes, and that's where it's releasing digestive enzymes. Okay, here's your 3 parts to your small. You have your duodenum, your jejunum, and your ileum, and different things happen in each part. They're kind of hard, like when you're dissecting something, to tell what's what. And inside your small intestine, we have these little villi that are lined with microvilli. So like a carpet that's rolled up, and it has tons of surface area, size of a tennis court. There's a picture of how it's going to move down the small intestine, and then we move into the large intestine, and you can trace where that is on your body. So your appendix there is going to be like your bottom right side, and if you have acute pain there a few inches below your belly button in that area, that might be appendicitis. It's really sharp and acute. I've never had it. So, and then it wraps up under your ribs and comes down and wraps around out to your rectum. And that's right here in the rectum, the anal canal. That's where your poop is going to sit, and it can even load up further back, and it's absorbing water all the time. So if you wait too long, it'll absorb too much water, and that'll be painful. And then again here, your small intestine, or your large, also has these little villi and microvilli that are absorbing water. So that's all of section 7, and I'm going to share that figure also, so you have access to that. And let me know if you have other questions or if you need other recordings.